Welcome to The Dental Brief, the podcast that delivers actionable insights and expert strategies to help dental professionals like you grow, lead, and succeed. I'm your host, Patrick Shavasty, the president of Omni Premier Marketing. Every week at The Dental Brief, we bring you real conversations from expert speakers that offer expert advice and quick tips that make a real difference in practices nationwide. Whether you're a general dentist or run a multi-location practice, we've got you covered with content that's designed to help you attract more patients, to streamline your operations, reduce headaches in managing your practice, and increase your profitability. If you're ready to elevate your practice, be sure to subscribe, hit the notifications bell, and let's dive into today's episode of The Dental Brief. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Dental Brief. Excited for today's guest. I always love it when a dentist comes on and shares with us valuable time that we appreciate. Today's going to be a really fun, interesting subject that I think everyone should listen to. So without further ado, Dr. Reed Faldet, say hello to everyone.
Hi, thanks for having me here. It should be a fun conversation. I look forward to sharing a few things.
Yep. I'm going to start with the basics. We'll go really quick. Tell me, how did you become a dentist? What made you get involved in dentistry?
What made me get involved with dentistry? Well, I think it came back to some of those career aptitude tests you take back in junior high and high school. And then, it steers you towards healthcare and kind of looked at medicine. But I liked more of the business side. And it seems like you can't really be an entrepreneur very well within medicine. And dentistry lent itself to that. I also liked engineering, working with my hands. I thought about being an architect. It just seemed like dentistry was a nice culmination of a lot of my interests.
Yep.
And so it worked out well.
I think that's a really fun part about dentistry. It's what is exciting for me too, is that how the business is run, the differences between business, the consumer behavior. I think that's all fascinating. Let's shift gears here a little bit. So you've been practicing. I know you have a successful practice in Iowa, correct?
Correct. Yep.
And then somehow you started getting involved in real estate and you started finding some success there a little bit. So tell me how you kind of got involved in real estate and working with investors and people who want to build wealth in real estate.
So it started kind of back when I became a practice owner. So I bought a practice right out of school, quickly grew it. And then the next year bought a second practice, quickly grew it. And we kind of had physical constraints where we could no longer grow within the confines of our practice. And so then you realize the importance of the physical, right? The building itself and your ability to grow your practice. And so we were sort of forced to do some ground up development and build our new practices, 2 9-op practices, and then quickly realize how quickly the practice could take off once those physical constraints were lifted. It ended up being a really good investment. I could see the return on it. I loved the idea of the tangible asset of real estate. From there, I kind of got hooked and started buying other commercial properties, retail strip centers, other medical office buildings, started partnering with people on bigger projects. And so it just kind of snowballed. It wasn't really necessarily the intent to kind of be on the commercial real estate side of things. But then eventually I kind of found this spot. So I do investment real estate, right, with other partners or myself. But then what I really found interest in was I had a friend that came to me who asked me if I thought he should become a practice owner. He was doing really well as an associate. And I'm pro practice ownership. I'm pro controlling your destiny. And so I was like, yes, you should. I think you have the chops for it. And he came back to me a month later and he had found a medical office building that was vacant. And he said, hey, I want to do my startup here, but I don't know about buying the real estate. It seems like a lot to take on. Would you partner with me? And so at first I was a little hesitant, but we kind of worked out the numbers and underwrote the property and ultimately realized that, I was betting on him more than I was the real estate. And I think dentists are sure bets, right? I'm a dentist, we work hard and everyone's got a pretty good head on their shoulders. And so yeah, I ended up partnering with him on the real estate, not the practice. So his practice is his own, but we're 50-50 partners on the real estate and he's been a success. And I realized that there's this opportunity to help dentists bridge into commercial real estate through practice ownership, right? Either through startups or through acquisitions and overcoming the barriers to do that. So There's a few barriers. And so that's what we try to aim to do.
Yep. I have a client that has a practice, bought the building. There's multiple tenants in the building. It's cash flowing with him, basically collecting double the rent that he should be paying for his own practice. So not only is it cash flowing, he's sub, right? So it's basically costing him nothing for his own rent. It's paying him to be there. And he's using bank money, a good portion of bank money to make this work. So There
Yeah.
are great opportunities out there. His wealth that he makes in this building will probably be greater than what he actually makes in his own practice over a
Yeah.
20 or 25-year period of time. So kind of tell me a little bit about the options. Checking out your website a little bit. One of the things that really caught my eye was lease-to-own option. That's something that
Mhm.
you do, right? So let me kind of explain it as I see it, and then you can kind of fill in the blanks that I'm missing here. So
Yeah.
if you're afraid to get involved in commercial real estate, which I think you should be. If you don't know anything about it, you should be. That's probably a pretty good fear to have. You can actually partner with someone like you and your company. You'll invest in this with them, right? So you have skin in the game as well, right? So you're protecting your assets. So you have someone who has a portfolio who also is putting skin in the game, right? So basically, if you both don't make it, you both don't make it, right? So tell,
Yes.
can I say it better?
Alignment.
Tell me how to say this better.
Yeah, I think what all business deals and partnerships boil down to is like aligned incentives, right? You want
Yeah.
everyone kind of rowing in the same directions.
Right.
And so in the lease to own option, so there's what you call a joint venture deal, right? Where maybe you're 50-50 partners or something like that on a piece of real estate. And so you're both maybe bringing the down payment or one of you is bringing the down payment, but ultimately you're sharing the liability of that asset, right? The mortgage comes due, it's both of your responsibilities. And so you have to structure the partnership accordingly. So with a lease to own option, so that's more of like the plan B. With a lease to own option, it's maybe a dentist saying, hey, I'm not ready to own this yet, but I want to in the future. And so essentially how you strike it is someone like me or anyone for that matter could buy that property, lease it to you just like you would normally lease any building doing a startup or an acquisition, right? But there's an option within that contract to purchase the building at some future date. And so
Right.
you might say to yourself, hey, I'm doing a startup. I don't have the cash flow right now. I don't have maybe the net worth or balance sheet to buy this multi-million-dollar asset, but I believe I will be in 5 years or 7 years or 10 years. And so you just spell that out in the contract and then you can execute on that option at a future date when you're in a financial position to do so. So that's kind of how it works out.
So one thing that I know that happens in commercial real estate, I've looked at this as some businesses that I've looked to invest in, is if it's leased, there's an owner, they lease you the property, they lease you your office space, you sign a 10-year lease, maybe a 15-year lease. Your business is kicking butt, right? You're killing it. Your ops are full. It's just this cash flow cow. The landlord sees that. They know this, right? They know that you're making money. And really the last thing that you want to do on a location-based business that is really, really successful is move when you don't want to. If you want to, great, but to move unplanned. And if the landlord goes, you know what? We know you're killing it. We're jacking your lease. We're charging you double or more, right? You're kind of stuck with that. But if you got a lease option where you can purchase it, that's been pre-negotiated, it's pre-negotiated, I would assume.
Correct. Yep.
You don't have to worry about that. You can literally just buy the building. That's what you're kind of saying, right?
The option is the power of the leaseholder or the option holder, right? You execute or you don't. You might decide you don't want to, but you can.
Right.
And what you're talking about there is what I'm just a big proponent of, and that is control, right? Control your destiny, know what your leverage points are, because if you're a practice owner, that's your number one asset. It's your number one income source, right? And so why would you put the control of the thing, the physical property that houses your most valuable asset in the hands of somebody else, right? So there's the control element. There's also the net worth element. There's all the things you were mentioning with your friend, right, who owns this commercial property, all the benefits of owning that commercial piece of real estate with a lot less of the risk because you are the tenant. The biggest risk with commercial real estate is that piece of property going vacant. And if you are the tenant, that's a pretty low risk thing to happen.
Right. Yeah. And so it's not just, I mean, the risk is there, but also just knowing that you have a partner, right? That you have a built-in mastermind, somebody that can actually problem solve with you along the way. It's got to be worth a ton. So I know, and this isn't like some legal disclosure, I know there's always risk in real estate. I've owned plenty of real estate in my life. There's definitely risk in real estate. I think everybody knows that or should know that. But this is absolutely a way to reduce risk, right? What else?
Absolutely.
So besides that risk, which can be mitigated or it can be at least reduced, tell me, what are some reasons why dentists don't do this more? What are some of the reasons? Because they just don't know about it, not thinking about it. They don't think it's possible. They don't understand the resources that are out there. What do you think that what some of the top reasons why the dentists aren't buying their own buildings is?
So it's kind of been ingrained a little bit of, if you want to do a startup, you go find a spot to lease, right? You sign that 10 to 15 year lease, you get some TI dollars, you build out the space, right? And there's somehow it's ingrained in us to think that leasing is somehow a lower risk, but it's of the same liability as a mortgage payment, assuming the numbers are the same, right?
Sure.
I mean, you can't get out of a 10-year lease any more than you can get out of a 10-year mortgage,
True.
without defaulting, claiming bankruptcy, whatever. So
Yeah.
no matter what, you're going to have facility costs as a practice owner. So you might as well use those facility costs to build equity in something.
Right.
So I think it's part of just a mindset shift. Another thing is anytime you're going to own a practice, like you're spending a lot of mental bandwidth deciding if you're going to acquire that practice or do that startup. And to also try to put on your plate to become a commercial real estate investor or owner, that seems a little overwhelming. And that's kind of what gives people pause as well. And so having someone who's done it, right, who's invested in commercial real estate, who's structured these leases or contracts, like gives you peace of mind because you can have someone walk you through that deal. So that's another one. And then I think ultimately, I think like you said, is just like people don't know their options and they're not exploring all their options. They're just saying, here's the track and I'm sticking to it. So
it makes a ton of sense to me. People that want to learn more. So how can they reach out to you? How can they get more information, either if it's from you or from other parties out there, other organizations? How can our listeners learn more? Reed?
Yeah, so we have a website, and I think you can maybe share that in your show notes where there's an intake form. So if you're considering, a lot of times people bring us like a property they're already looking at or considering. And so we'll just kind of go through it with them, decide if it's a good option. We tend to kill more deals than we help go along because we kind of shed light on some of the problems. But yeah, you can reach out to us, schedule a call, send us an email through that website, and we can help you from there. We also have a private Facebook group of just dentists where we kind of share case studies. We go over commercial properties that we've bought and how to underwrite, different resources for tax planning related to that real estate. So whether it's, I don't want to get too deep in it too, but because I know we're trying to keep this brief, but yeah, so either our Facebook page or go to our website and we can help you from there.
I'm going to give the website. It's dentalrepartners.com. So go check that out. What's the Facebook group called?
Dental RE Partners.
Perfect. Yep. So search it on Facebook, look under groups, you'll find it. I think it's something that you should definitely check out. I'm going to throw this out there. I talk to a lot of practice transitions guys. I know quite a few. Maybe the average practice sells for around $1 million. If you owe nothing on it after taxes, whatever, you're going to walk with maybe $500,000-$600,000. And that's it. There's no cash flow. As soon as that cash is gone, it's gone. But if you own the building, you're able to sell the practice, keep the building, right? Mm-hmm. That's an option. And then you've got cash flow. If you only practice for 22 years, bought the building 2 years in, it's going to be paid for, or most likely going to be paid for. I know they're shorter term loans usually, but you're going to have cash coming in every single month. There's something in business that nobody really thinks about very often. And in this world where everyone thinks exiting is awesome, you can never replace the cash flow. Cash flow is king and you can never replace it. So owning real estate is a great way to always make sure that you have cash coming into your life. Reed, I'm going to give the website one more time, dentalrepartners.com. Thanks so much for coming on and sharing. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to come back anytime.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Dental Brief. If you found it helpful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share it with a colleague who could benefit. We're here to help dental professionals like you stay ahead of the curve, one brief episode at a time. You can find more episodes and resources at thedentalbrief.com. You can also join the Growth-Minded Dentist community on Facebook. Links are in the description. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and thanks for being part of the Dental Brief community.